What's up, all my Ewoks, Tribbles, Droids, and Wookiees? It's Anna, also known as that Star Wars girl, and today I'm going to be talking about Star Wars. So, some news came out about Rian Johnson and The Last Jedi, and I know that that was years and years ago, but some of the editors that worked very closely for years with J.J. Abrams and worked on Star Wars The Force Awakens and then on The Last Jedi and then on The Rise of Skywalker, they have that experience of, being with J.J. all the way back from the days of Lost and even before that, and working very closely with J.J. and understanding the way he does things and then having to make that transition to working with Rian Johnson. So these ladies did a podcast episode interview thing, and there's been articles going on around it. I'm actually surprised it's not as, more popular than it is, just because of the context of the situation and, the conversation and the way that it went. Now, I listened to the entire podcast. It was very strange. I found from the article, it had a link to their website. From their website, I found that they had a YouTube channel, and this podcast was very much edited. So the questions that were quoted in this article were kind of taken out of context. So I listened to the whole thing. It was 3 parts that were about 45 minutes, if not longer, each. I listened to all of it, and then I also went and did more research on these ladies and watched more interviews of them. These are 2 ladies that are very professional. They are very good at what they do, and they are also very diplomatic. But you can very much tell through the diplomacy how they feel about The Last Jedi. And the way that this was edited, or the podcast was edited, and let me make this myself clear on this. When it's a written or an article that comes out with an interview, there's a disconnect. You can't hear the person's tone of voice. You cannot see their body language. And even if you can't see them, but you can get a lot from the tone of the way somebody is speaking. Now, like I said, these women are very diplomatic. I'm going to go through, I have this clip. I'm going to kind of EFAP it and break it down. I've spent all day researching these ladies, and I feel like I kind of have a good grasp on their tones of voice and their personalities to get the meaning behind what they are saying. Let me also make this clear. Marianne is still working. Mary Jo, I believe she's either worked on her last film or is about to retire or already has retired. So the way that she answers is slightly different than Marianne, but you are going to get the gist of the conversation very fast on how they truly felt about The Last Jedi. Let me make that clear before we get into it. It's a very professional way of answering a difficult question, which the guys from the podcast were very clever to leave out the question. They edited out their question. So this conversation kind of starts off with them laughing, and you can tell they were backed into a corner. They were asked a very uncomfortable question to talk about somebody that they have worked with, and I think that they answer very well, but you also get a very honest answer, which I think is refreshing coming from people that worked with somebody like Rian Johnson. Now, I have this clip. Let's go check it out. Alright, so I have this little snip of the podcast pulled up. I'm going to go through it and kind of EFAP it. For those of you that don't know what that means, it means every frame of pause. It's my favorite show on YouTube. And so I'm just going to go through and I'm going to kind of explain as we go, because like I said, I did listen to the entire podcast. It was 3 parts, over 45 minutes each. The link to it will be in the description of this video for each episode. You can also find the channel there. It's not a very big channel, and I'm surprised that they can get high-profile women like this. And after doing my research on these women, I have a lot of respect for them and what they do. You can really tell that they very much love what they do. They love editing, and I'm just like, woo, if you love editing, I have so much respect for you, because I hate it. So you're going to notice and pay attention to this. The interviewers they agree with everything these women say, even if it does contradict the things that they agreed with previously. And you can see the way Marianne and Mary Jo are very diplomatic about it. Now, Mary Jo's a little bit more embracive because I believe she already is retired at this point, or she was about to retire when this was recorded. So she's a lot more honest, and it even says in a different part of this podcast that she's just like, I'm retired, I'm going to be open and honest, and I'm going to do a tell-all type of resolution about it. So she has a very spunky personality. I really admire her. But that being said, let's listen to this because it's very eye-opening when you know what to hear or you know what to listen for.
Last Jedi did the second one.
All right. Well, I guess we're not telling the truth today.
Well, we're not lying.
And like I said, this is a jump cut in the middle of their little podcast interview. So they just have the end of the question. They don't have the full question, which is why they're laughing. And you can tell that the women were kind of like, did you really have to ask that, bro? And I thought it was weird being, kind of shoehorned into the podcast.
Well, so
The Last Jedi, I will say this, was just a different take.
Completely
on
Marianne being
the
diplomatic.
Star Wars saga.
Mm-hmm.
And to Ryan's credit, he stuck to what he wanted to do, and he wanted to deconstruct the film and open it up to go a different direction. Mm-hmm. And that is the film he made. And I know it's controversial, but isn't that kind of good in a way?
Yeah.
Now, that was her being diplomatic. She got that off her chest, so it can seem as being a positive take on it. But now we're going to get more into the how they really feel about it.
New elements.
You bring new elements, and you kind of...
It was exciting, I thought, yeah.
Yeah. So, that's why I say I feel very much like, in hindsight, that the trilogy, the last part of the trilogy, needed one vision.
Yeah.
And it's,
See, so that's her. She's praising Rian Johnson, and then she's going back and saying it needed one vision. So she's like, here's a compliment, but it really needed to be like this. And that was Marianne speaking. Now, again, Marianne is still working. Mary Jo, I think she is now currently retired, and she's going to jump in and kind of go for it. I love it.
Couldn't agree more.
Right.
Yeah, it's a little all over the place.
It's very strange to have the second film so consciously undo the storytelling of the first film.
I'm
sorry. That's what it felt like.
No, yeah, that's what a lot of people who are saying that about Rise of Skywalker, that it undid all the stuff that Rian Johnson did, but it's like, Rian Johnson kind of did that first.
Right, so it went like that.
I don't even really feel that that's true about the third film. I don't know. I don't feel like it was...
the third film went with the first film.
Yeah.
It took where the second film ended and just tried to tell a story. I didn't feel like it was consciously
right.
I'm trying to. I don't know. It just didn't feel that way to me.
It's interesting. Last Jedi is a polarizing movie. I think it has a lot of really interesting ideas, and it doesn't all fully work.
I agree. I think it's really polarizing, and I think it was hard to know for the writer and for JJ what to do with it.
Yeah.
And I think
how do you bring all the Star Wars fans back from that?
Or how do you? It's like if somebody wrote the middle of your novel, and you're like, okay, now I've got to, how do I get the end of the novel? And I think any big film, like action, adventure, sci-fi, all these films, they're very hard to get on paper. And I think as editors, that's why you end up, or in my experience, you end up doing so much work in the cutting room because you can't really write these things out. It's like, they go to the thing and they have a battle on this planet, and then that battle becomes a story in itself.
Yeah.
But on paper, it's not quite a story. It's just kind of a sequence
of
shots, and then you have to.
That you try to invest.
Right.
Right, and you're dealing with visual effects, and you're dealing with cohesiveness, and trying to keep a story alive, and it gets big, and I think that's why those kind of films spend so much time in the editing room, as your first question was, did you spend a lot of time, evolving it? Of course they do evolve. And then you've got a huge visual effects component. And I think the thing on Star Trek, the first Star Trek, certainly.
Now this is when they get more into because they're JJ's go-to editors. So then they start talking about Star Trek. So I think I'll just end it there. I included it because I found it interesting, but I see now it had this part of the conversation doesn't have the context with The Last Jedi because it's about Star Trek. I found it interesting. If you want to go listen to the rest of it, it is in the link for the podcast is in the description of this video. Well, that was only a tiny snippet of the entire podcast. Like I said, I listened to all of it. The links, again, are in the description of this video. And I actually went and watched a lot more interviews of these ladies. And I have a lot of respect for them after, I didn't know who they were this morning. But now after watching and, doing my research on them all day, I have a lot of respect for these ladies. And the way that they were able to voice that, I would say it was constructive criticism in a way, but at the same time being blunt and honest about how it didn't exactly work as far as storytelling. I think that is extremely refreshing coming from somebody. Well, they're not employees of Lucasfilm. When you have an editor like this that works specifically with certain directors, usually the editors get a contract for a certain movie, so they're only the employees for that project. And if they get hired again, then they got hired again, but it's not a consistent, like you are a Lucasfilm employee. It's no, you're a contractual employee and you work until your contract is up. So but still, somebody in the industry being open and honest like that, it's very, very refreshing. I have a lot of respect for these ladies, and the rest of their podcast, they say a lot of stuff, and it's fascinating. I'm not an editor. I do not enjoy editing in any way, shape, or form, and the way that these women are so passionate about what they do, it made me interested in something I'm not typically interested in. And I try to do the bare minimum when it comes to editing because I hate it so much. It is so insanely frustrating that when there's people good at it, it's like, oh my God, thank you, sweet baby Jesus, for the fact that these people exist, because it's like them and people that do math. I'm like, I'm so grateful that you guys are here to do that, because I sure as hell hate it and I don't want to do it. But there's a lot more in that video, or the podcast. They talk about, or I believe it's Marianne that talks about what it was like to work with Elizabeth Banks on Charlie's Angels, and how she was let go because she didn't have the same politics. And I don't mean American politics, I mean Hollywood politics. And she was trying to focus more on the story, whereas Elizabeth Banks was just trying to force a narrative, and so they didn't see eye to eye. It was interesting to hear that. I might actually do an entire video on it. But the way that these ladies talk about the things that they've worked on, like Lost, like Super 8, and again, it's a lot of JJ content, because this was actually the reason why they're on is because JJ directed a Mission Impossible movie, and they were the editors for Mission Impossible 3, the one that was directed by JJ. And so this is a Mission Impossible podcast channel, which I thought was kind of weird. I was like, you can have an entire thing dedicated to just that? All right, cool. And that's actually what the lady said as well. And so that's what they were on, and then it evolved from Mission Impossible to talking about Star Trek and Star Wars and other projects that JJ has done. So it's a very interesting watch if you're interested. And again, the links are in the description below. And I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope you guys are happy that I was able to, listen to all of that and clip out that key piece of information, because it has to do with everything that I talked about here on my channel, and it is a nice validation to everything that the Fandom Menace has talked about for years now. And the fact that we're hearing it from industry professionals that even, they saw that, they were just doing their job. And I've said this many times, I don't blame people that are just going and doing their job. They are not the ones that are making, the executive shots and choices. They are just coming in, doing their job, and trying to make the best product that they can. And so hearing from them, it's like somebody came in and, wrote the middle of the book, and then JJ had to come in and fix it. And I personally don't think he did a very good job of it. But to hear that from other people and other professionals that worked on it, it is very refreshing and it's validating. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, go ahead and give it a thumbs up. If you didn't, that's okay too. Thank you for watching this far. And please, 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 if you haven't already, please subscribe to my channel. Make sure you click the little bell. And guys, remember, the way that YouTube is going, they're trying to move away from individual content creators and to just focus on, you know, like big channels like CBS and all of those like corporate brands, not individual content creators. So every like, share, comment really helps me out with the algorithm. So thank you to everyone. And until next time, have a great rest of your day, and may the force be with you, because we are really, really, really going to need it. Bye, everyone. Hey everyone, ever wonder why you never see my live streams pop up in my channel? Well, that's because YouTube hates it with the algorithm if you leave a live stream up. So I created a second channel called That Star Wars Girl Live. You can go and find it right here on my featured channels. It's the only one. You click the link and it takes you right over to my secondary channel. Make sure you hit the subscribe button, ring the bell for notifications so you never miss my re-uploaded live streams. As you can see, I got KOTOR uploaded, old episodes of the Jack Show, and all of my future live streams will be uploaded to this channel. So go check it out. Again, subscribe, ring the bell for notifications, and I will see you there as well. Have a great day, everyone.